We're notifying viewers that you are live. Welcome to this TikTok live stream. The Live at 5 from Kyiv. Hey, Douglas. You're the first one in. Hey, Anthony. Hey, Shane. Hey, PT. How you doing? Guys, hang on. I'm going to grab a cold seltzer. 1 second. Hello, everybody. Buffering. Are we buffering, Anthony? Hey, Eli. How you doing? Hey, Sarah Bradshaw. PT says it's okay. You still buffering, Anthony? Hey, M. Fuller. Hey, David Frazier, you up in the Highlands, are you? You feeling more Scottish than usual, as if that were possible. Thanks, Bjorn. Joey the Lips. Good on your end, thank you. Hey, Fitzy. Good now. Hey, Lars. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Hey, Steve B. Thanks, Steve. Hey, Cheyenne, good evening. Cheyenne, I just got a text from Vanetta. She's not going to be around. She probably let you know, but just FYI. You got a new dog? Nice. Love a good dog. Fitz has a gorgeous dog. Don't you, man? Hey, Jeff. Hey, Nicola. Right on. Thanks, Cheyenne. So the peeps are coming in. So, ladies and gentlemen and other non-binary folks, boy, somebody really got on me today about the other non-binary folks, calling me woke and all this bullshit. And I was like, I don't understand what the problem is recognizing everybody's humanity. I don't get it. I don't know what the fucking problem is there. So welcome all the LGBTQ plus community that tunes into my stream, which is probably not that many, but it doesn't matter. You're fucking welcome here too. Anyway. So I'm Peter Alexievich. This is the Live at 5. Hey, PH. From Kyiv, right? Now, we call it the Live at 5 because that's New York time, but it's actually just past midnight here. Curfew is on. And we did have an air raid alert earlier today, but things seem to be quiet. And I had power all day, if you can believe it. All freaking day. I had a very productive day, my friends. Can I just tell you, hey, Bobby, how you doing? Thanks, Eli. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are. And whenever it is for you, it's just past midnight here in Kyiv for me, and today is Tuesday, July the 16th. Well, technically, it's Wednesday, July 17th. But yesterday was day 873 of Vladimir Putin's war of aggression against the people of Ukraine. And I want to start tonight with a look at J.D. Vance and a discussion of J.D. Vance because he's the news. And let's face facts. The greatest threat to Ukraine right now is not Russia. It's J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Project 2025. That's the greatest threat to Ukraine because they'll shut it all down. They will shut it down. And how do we know that they will shut it down? Because of the shit J.D. Vance has said. It was back in April he published an essay in the New York Times. And in that essay, he laid out the case pretty clearly why he thought the U.S. should change its policy toward Ukraine. He said specifically, the words were, "It is a fiction that Ukraine can win." He's a complete defeatist. He does not see any future for Ukraine. He sees no path by which Ukraine might win. He said that the U.S. does not have the domestic weapons production capacity to get the weapons to Ukraine for this war. Now that is just nonsense of the first order. The production capacity of the United States can be ramped up to provide what is needed. There is no greater engine for producing anything in the world than the United States economy and infrastructure. No, give me a fucking break. America can't? It's America, not American't. Give me a fucking break, JD. You're out of your mind. U.S. weapons are not the solution. He thinks that a negotiated settlement with Putin is the way to do things. This, of course, any rational person knows, is nonsense. One cannot negotiate with terrorists. Putin is a terrorist. And anything that lets him win is a mistake on our part. It's ridiculous. Now, there was one thing he said that I agreed with. I have to confess. There was one thing that he said that I have to agree with. He does not see a long-term strategic objective for the U.S.'s participation in this conflict. And I agree. That is the problem. We don't commit to a Ukraine defeating Russia win. We do not commit to that. And that's a problem. And look, I know for all of the lives of every politician and member of the diplomatic corps, Russia has been a major player. But those days are fucking over. The country is on the verge of bankruptcy. It is morally bankrupt. It is intellectually stunted. It is a kleptocracy of the worst sort that has left its own people bankrupt and starving. The word, well, that's another story. Hang on, let's stick with Vance for a second here. Now, what do I think about Vance, particularly as a running mate for Trump? I think it's a fucking gift to the Democrats. That's what I think it is. I think it's a huge strategic error. Why? Why do I think it's a huge strategic error that J.D. Vance is Trump's running mate? Because he's a mini Trump. He has all the same flaws and failings and character defects of Trump. You've now got twice the problem for your PR people to handle. That's part of it. They both engage in violent, hyperbolic rhetoric. And the best part of it for the Democrats is that J.D. Vance engaged in that rhetoric against Donald Trump for 6 years while he was a never-Trumper. And he said that Donald Trump would ruin the country and that Donald Trump was an immoral person. And the list goes on and on. He once referred to Donald Trump as America's mustache man, right? As in the German mustache man. You know the one I mean. So the idea now that this guy is going to come along, right? And think about it. What do presidents look for in a vice president? They don't look for people who are like them, who are going to have the same flaws and failings as them. They look for somebody that's complementary, that's better at some things than they are, right? That's got a viewpoint and can speak to a group that they maybe can't necessarily speak to directly, so that you broaden your audience. Vance doesn't do any of that. Vance is clued into the MAGA crowd, the MAGA base, and that's all he is. He's just a mini Trump. It's a bad mistake. Bad mistake. I like it. I like it a lot. If elected, he'll also be the first guy in the vice presidency with a beard since Ulysses S. Grant's vice president. It's a funny thing. Kyiv is saying that it needs more F-16s. Now, I don't know how you can say you need more when you don't have any, or as far as we know you don't have any. They have been promised 85 about, it seems. And according to Kyiv, they need 135 for air superiority. Now, I'd like to see the first 85 in and up and running. I'd like to see that. And then we can see about getting them another 50. But Kyiv wants another 50. And I don't blame them. They're going to need them. I mean, the Russians still have 100 Su-25s. They've still got 100 Su-29s. They've still got about 100... what are they? The MiG... I want to say the MiG-29. I think they've still got a bunch of them. But they've got a lot of planes. In the Kursk region, there is a major fire at an electrical parts supply plant. It is said to be a huge fire encompassing over half an acre of this manufacturing facility. It is just 20 kilometers from the Sumy region, from the border with Sumy. Russian air defense states that it shot down 13 drones. It does not say what got through, but obviously something got through. The UK has formed a call to action coalition with other EU partners to coordinate and mitigate the threat posed by the Russian Shadow Fleet. Now, for those of you who follow the channel, you know the Russian Shadow Fleet are about 100 oil tankers that Russia has got that it uses to skirt sanctions. Now, the problem with these oil tankers is that Russia bought them at a discount. They're all old. They should all be retired. They are a hazard to shipping. They are an environmental disaster waiting to happen. They are uninsured, except by Russia's own internal insurance company, which we have no guarantees will pay out in the event of a disaster. And the fleet is old and poorly maintained. It is a threat to the ecology. And so how these interdictions will happen or how sanctions will be applied against these ships is unclear at this time, but the UK coalition says that it is up to the task and it will engage the Shadow Fleet. For the first time since the Cold War, Russian TV will not broadcast the Olympics. There will be 16 Russians and 17 Belarusians participating under the flags of neutral countries, which is a very controversial thing, I know, but I would point out to everybody that 16 Russians and 17 Belarusians competing in the 2024 Olympics is very different from the Summer Games in Tokyo in 2020, when there were 330 Russians and 104 Belarusians. And so there is a progress of a sort there. There is a progress of a sort. Russia has rejected the invitation to the second Peace Summit. Dmitry Peskov said the words, "The first Peace Summit was not a peace summit, and Russia will not attend the second Peace Summit, which is also not a peace summit." Now, what he means by that, it seems to me, is that there can be no peace without Russia. And he's not wrong about that, right? They are the aggressor in this thing. But an analyst on Ukraine the Latest podcast, whose name I apologize I don't have here, talked about Russian negotiations at great length and suggested that the Russians are already negotiating, that this is what the Russians do when they are losing. They double down. They scream and stomp their feet. They threaten. They frighten. That attack against the children's hospital, that is no coincidence. That is Russian negotiation at its best. They are trying to quell the population into submission through fear and intimidation. And the idea, of course, being that if you simply demand the extreme, threaten, scream, and frighten enough, you'll get something. And for them, it's 18% of Ukraine right now. If this conflict were to be frozen here at the current level, Russia they would be rewarded with 18% of Ukraine and some of its most critical natural resources, clay deposits. Now that might sound like a funny thing to say, clay deposits. But there is a clay here in Ukraine that has a very low iron count relative to clays in the rest of the world. It is used specifically to make ceramic tiling that is bone white. And there's no other clay on earth that does it. There's a shortage of white tile in the world today because that clay deposit is right on the front line and can't be worked. And that's just one example of the dozens of natural resources that are in that part of the country that cannot be exploited currently by anybody. There's a Kyiv delegation in Prague. Now, one of the things they're talking about, if I'm not mistaken, it's getting the Czechs to train 17,000 new recruits. And so their basic training will happen in Czechia. But on a much more salient point, the Czechs have said that they have delivered 50,000 shells to Ukraine this month. They will deliver 100,000 shells regularly, 100,000 shells a month starting in September. I'm guessing that the August delivery will be about 50,000 shells as well. Now, I just want to point out at 5,000 shells a day, that's 10 days worth of shells. 10 days worth of shells, 50,000 shells. It's tough. It's tough even to keep a 1-to-1 ratio with the Russians right now because they got all that North Korean ammo to burn. The Baltic countries have taken a dramatic step. Not only are they building a wall against Russia, not only are they building an air defense screen against Russia, but they are disconnecting themselves from the Russian power grid by the end of this year and hooked into the European power grid. So they are literally severing the ties that bind them to old Mother Russia. And I think it's all for the best, of course. Guys, those are my top line stories for the day, if you will. And just before we go to Q&A, I want to take a minute and I want to recognize Ballerina, who is the sponsor of tonight's live. I want to also thank the moderator crew, who are the best on the Tickety Talk. Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, John Williams, Jay, and Travis. Thank you, Lars, who runs the Peter's Peeps group over on the Book of Faces. And Lars, who's got the Discord server. And then Vanetta has a Discord server too, as well as the Google Doc share, where you can get a copy of our no-fly zone letter urging Congress and the White House to enforce a no-fly zone west of the Dnipro. And that's it. That's the team, I think. Thank you, everybody. And with that, we can go to Q&A. Questions, comments, points of observation, or personal need? Thank you, Ballerina. It was another sweltering day here in Kyiv. High of 95 or 35 if you do the Celsius thing. Really, really abysmal. How do the troops deal with the heat? I can't imagine. Can you imagine? Can Ukraine win without American support? Do the Ukrainians going to retake Sevastopol? Sevastopol is a long way to go. We're a long way from Sevastopol, Mel. But Vovchansk, Lipsky, Hillby Oak, everything in the north, I think we're going to see that break pretty soon. I hope so, anyway. Oh, Rational Squirrel. Hey, Rational Squirrel. How did the troops deal with the heat? I cannot imagine. It's got to be a fucking nightmare. I mean, I come back from the grocer's 1 block down the street, and I got to change my clothes and take a shower. It's disgusting out. High humidity, high heat. Can you imagine another 70 pounds of body armor on you? All around you, shells are exploding, fires are breaking out. It's got to be a living hell. Can Ukraine win without American support? I don't know the answer to that, Anthony. I don't know. I mean, the Ukrainians are committed, but you got to have guns, you got to have ammo, you got to have equipment. And right now, a good part of that is coming from the United States. If the United States were to pull out, it's anybody's guess what would happen next. Of course, Europe could step into that role if it had the political will, but it would be costly and it would be hard to find that will, I think. So, Superman 64. So the guy's got a name Superman. However, he hasn't voted in 60 years in his whole life. Well, pal, maybe that's one of the reasons America is in the state it's in. Democracies don't just go on autopilot. Every generation has to grasp with its own bleeding hands its freedoms and secure them for the next generation. And right now, in the United States, we are on the verge of losing all of that. And that is not hyperbole. That is the statement of the opposition. Would Ukraine be happy if Crimea was still Russian as a consequence of ending the war? No, they would not be, Ken. They definitely would not be. Yeah, Cheyenne, Superman, you see Cheyenne there is saying, register. Get yourself registered. Have you heard the latest from Volchansk? I don't have an update from Volchansk that's less than 24 hours old, PT. If you have one, chat it in. You sent a box of crushable gel ice packs. Oh, well, cool. That's got to be helpful to them. I don't know whose hands you're sitting on there. Hey, Wanpa, good evening. How you doing? Now, Robert Chapman, he's a believer. I believe Ukraine will win no matter what. Good man, Robert. I've said something like that in the past, but I'm more reserved these days. Hi from Sweden. Why can't Ukraine do what they want with their missiles? Because they're not their missiles, they're Western missiles, and the people who own them said, you can have them, just don't fire them into Russia. And that's because they are afraid, I think. I think they are afraid of Russia. They are afraid of those 6,000 nuclear bombs that Russia has. That's what they're afraid of, man. Ukraine will continue guerrilla style if necessary. Yes. Yes, Bobby. Right, so, see, David Frazier's got it right. America won't win without Ukraine. Damn right, David. I'm on the same page as you, pal. I think one of the things we should think about is that Russia has not gotten to the hard part yet. The hard part is holding the country once you take it over. You talk about guerrilla-style warfare, you're living in a country where grandma knows how to make a Molotov cocktail. Look at the problem they're having with partisan activity in Mariupol and Crimea and Melitopol and Bryansk. It seems to me there'd be a whole fuck of a lot more partisan activity if they held the whole country. I don't think they can. I think it'd be like a Vietnam-style long-term degradation of the occupier force. Flippy, I can't imagine fighting in a ballistic vest in this weather. It's insanity. Is here Europeans any news hybrid warfare with RU? Yeah, there's lots of hybrid warfare with the RU. I mean, all over Europe, spies are being arrested or they're fleeing. All over Europe, we have acts of sabotage that can be traced to the FSB. All over Europe, we have cyber attacks and troll farms and disinformation pipelines. Anybody who thinks we're not in a hybrid war with Russia is not paying attention. Yeah, everything is the United States' fault. We know. Sorry about that. Let's try to fix it. Yada, yada, yada. It doesn't matter if you get the truth to the Russians. They won't believe it. They won't believe it. Mother Russia can do no wrong. They're not the ones that commit genocide. They're not the ones that rape young girls. They're not the ones that steal children to sell them to pedophiles and pornographers and sadists. That's not them. They don't bomb children's hospitals. They'll never believe it. That's why there's no revolution coming. What do I think of the 2014 coup d'etat? I don't know what you're talking about. So PT is saying that there's an update from Volchansk. Now shoot, where'd it go? If I'm not mistaken, he said that the Ukrainians have stopped the Russians dead just west of Mykolivka. Shit, where'd it go? Yeah, Ukraine stopped the RF cold west of Mykolivka. Interesting. No, I didn't see that, PT. I'm not even sure where Mykolivka is. Is that on the western side of the advance or on the eastern side over by Volchansk? Not sure. Any agreement from Russia is just buying time while planning out their next slice. Exactly. Exactly. Is the choice of Vance anything to do with Musk's election donations? I have no idea if there's a connection between Vance and Musk. Hey, Pete, what do you think of the Contino statement that Trump won't alter Ukraine aid or help? I'm not familiar with the statement that you're referring to. I think it's clear that Donald Trump will pull the plug on Ukraine and sell it out to Vladimir Putin in a heartbeat. And the fact that he's got a noted anti-Ukraine vice presidential candidate now only gives that more credence as far as I'm concerned. Evening, Chef Deb. It's only a question of how much Putin steals. At the least, it will be a defensive victory. You're not wrong, Dive Hard. No, Peter, the U.S. has the EU hands tied. I don't know what that means. We don't hear much about the partisans. Arne, there's stuff coming out from the Atesh group every day. If you're interested in that, subscribe to their Telegram channel. Yes. JROK82 says, will Ukrainian people keep the resistance even if Russia takes control of the government? Most definitely. Most definitely. I was out, you can check my page for some videos of the civilian training camp out at Black Lakes that I was at. You have doctors, dentists, pharmacy assistants, secretaries, nurses, all out there on the range training and then going back to their day jobs. This the civilian population of Ukraine is being trained to fight every single day. Make no mistake about that. Hey, Birdie. Herb, the story of the boss from Rheinmetall is not the boss from Rheinmetall. The story of the boss from Rheinmetall is that he was one of 13 targets. That's getting all the attention because that plot was apparently close to fruition and they nipped it right in the bud. But they've got evidence that there were 13 other such plots currently in the works in Europe. That's a very dangerous situation. Very, very dangerous situation. Russia lost as many troops in May as the whole time in Afghanistan. David, I believe that that's correct. I think the total troop losses in Afghanistan were 15,000. And in May, they lost an average of 1,263 a day, something like that. Euro Union increased action on black market goods from Russia. Good. Hey, Nightshade. So Rational Squirrel takes issue with my depiction of the Russian people as pretty passive, as pretty apolitical, as not really giving a fuck, by pointing out that Russians are burning recruitment offices and still spreading info. Maybe they are. I haven't heard of a recruitment office being burned recently. Have you? Has anybody else? I haven't heard of that. I certainly haven't seen any protests. I haven't seen any like under the radar websites spreading Russian information. I don't see it. What is the FSB? It's the inheritor of the KGB. So when the Soviet Union fell, the KGB became the FSB, Fitz. We just don't hear about it. Well, Rational Squirrel, I mean, I watch, I'm subscribed to like 100 Russian Telegram channels. I mean, that's where we've always seen it before. I'm not saying that that action wasn't happening before the election in Russia. It was. I'm saying that since the election and Putin's reinstallment, it's not happening. It's all been shut down. There is a wave of clampdown in Russia today. So much so that a theater director and a playwright were sent to jail for 6 years of hard labor for putting on a play. That's how thin-skinned these fucking people are. Well, no region is really resisting sending troops, as far as I know. People in the regions that didn't want to participate in this conflict fled the country to the tune of 1.2 million men. Did Trump denounce the Russian hospital bombing? What, are you kidding me, Bobby? You got to be kidding me. If he denounced it, he'd have to acknowledge that it happened. And he's not going to say that his buddy Vlad blew up a children's cancer hospital. So as far as I know, no. Cheyenne is agreeing with me there. Vance has said he doesn't think Ukraine can win. Spicy weather, Vance has said that it, quote unquote, it is a fiction that Ukraine can win. That's what he said. He's a total naysayer. Novomykhailivka is south of Volchansk. RF had multiple surges yesterday and were wrecked. Awesome sauce. Howdy, Richard Hansen. Hey, KC. Russia is definitely hanging in there waiting for Trump, Anthony. You are not wrong, but he ain't coming. Not even after his near martyrdom. He ain't coming. The American people are going to soundly reject him at the ballot box. That's what's going to happen. In Volchansk, Ukraine set a trap and RF took the bait. Yeah, they're good at that, boy. Hey, Arn, on the subject of partisan activity, you know, the Siberian Brigade, the Freedom of Russia Legion, the Russian Volunteer Corps, they've all got Telegram channels, and they're updated virtually every day. Vance will deliver the Ohio hillbilly vote. Funny enough, Bobby, he won't. He won't. No. He's going to deliver the middle-class, suburban, conservative housewife vote because they read that book, Hillbilly Elegy, and thought it was real. Real hillbillies, well, in my case, ridge runners, we read that book and we think, shit, this guy is so full of shit. No, Appalachia doesn't like this fucker. Yale Law School, yeah, you had it rough, pal. Give me a fucking break. Poland will not let Russia take Ukraine. Well, let's hope so. Finnish water facilities have experienced increasing break-ins. God almighty, these people are crazy. Yeah, the power's on all day, Flojo. Can you believe it? How much longer could Putin hold out? I don't know, Bobby. Who would have thought he could have held out this long, huh? I never did. Are you planning some sabotage against our infrastructure? Yep. And not just yours, everybody's. I hope air defense gets here soon, too. A Russian child soldier picture surfaced, really. People are brainwashed by the governments that make bombs and guns and ships for war's division. Well, that's a pretty useless statement to make right there. The body bags aren't going back to Russia, right? They've got these mobile crematoria that they're using and mass graves. There are mass graves around every frontline site. Chef Deb said that she met a MAGA woman today who won't vote for Trump after his VP pick. Did she say why? I look younger. I've been getting sun. No, I'm on the other phone, and the filter works differently on this phone. This is the phone, this is the Ukrainian phone that's got internet access, so if the power goes out, we should fail over to the cellular service. That's what I'm hoping anyway. If Trump loses, do you think he'll try again in 2028? No, the guy is 77 years old. By the time of the election, he's going to be 78. This bullshit that he's young and strong and Biden's old, they're 3 years apart, for Christ's sake. You know, Trump was a freshman when Biden was a senior. It's nonsense. Nonsense. Hello, cool. In Norway, we are concerned about our subsea gas lines being targeted. You should be. Because of his abortion stance. Oh my God, because he's not tough enough on abortion. He believes in exceptions after 15 weeks. I mean, he's like a Reagan-era Republican when it comes to abortion. You know, he wants his fingers in that pie, but not too much. What I wouldn't give for a few doubles, boy. A lot of MAGA are not happy that Trump picked Vance. His wife is an immigrant, apparently, is one reason. Get out of here. Is his wife... I don't know anything about the wife. Is the wife an immigrant like Melania, too? These fucking guys, they can't handle American women. 3 hots and a cot for Mr. Trump. I'm with you, pal. Oh no, Marjorie Taylor Greene would be political suicide. You got to be kidding me. Nicola, I'm feeling less negative that he will. How about that? Could we agree on that for tonight? I'm less negative now that he will. I was very concerned about the calculus of this thing, but I just can't see it. If it happened 2 weeks before the election, I'd be more worried. But there's time for people to forget. Arn, I hope you're right. Show no mercy. How you doing? Hey, Maddie Wright. Vance's wife is of Indian descent. I assume you mean Southeast Asian, not Native American. Because that would not be an immigrant. So guys, it's just about a quarter to the top of the hour. We've got 15 minutes left. So if anybody's got any questions, or if you asked a question and I did not answer it, it's because the thing scrolls fast sometimes. Try typing it in again. I keep thinking about that guy that was unalived at the shooting. That guy, he had an unusual name, Comparator. And it's not a common name, like you don't run into it much. And he was from Trevose, PA, which is in Bucks County. And I knew a Comparator, Chris Comparator, from Bucks County, from that area. And I keep wondering if they were related. He was a good guy, Camp. And it was strange to see that name. It's not a common name. He's the only person I ever knew with the name Comparator. It's of Italian extraction, but they were American for a long time. You know, it's not like Grandma and Grandpa came over to flee Mussolini. No. His family's been there a long time. He's got a lot of Native American in him, despite the name. Vance's wife is also a Yale School grad. Not surprising. Grew up in San Diego, where mother is UCSD professor. The fundraisers for him and the victims exceeded over $4 million so far. Well, as long as Trump doesn't get his hands on that money. I don't know, Nicola. I'm not sure what Bobby's talking about there. Trump didn't donate to it. You know what the widow Comparatore said? She has not heard from Donald Trump, but she got a call from Joe Biden. Think Storm Shadow would be able to take it out. Take what out? I must have missed something there. And wouldn't take Biden's call? Who wouldn't take Biden's call? Mrs. Comparatore took the call. No, to the best of my knowledge, the widow Comparatore took the call and thought it was graceful and appreciated. I don't believe that's true, Eli. I mean, I could be wrong. or one of us is a victim of some disinformation, right? That's going to be going around. Declined to speak with Biden. "22 minutes ago, widow of slain rally attendee says she received a call from Trump." So this is the latest and greatest from the New York Times, 22 minutes ago. "The widow of the slain victim in Saturday's shooting in Pennsylvania spoke with former President Donald Trump on Tuesday. He was very kind and said he would continue to call me in the days and weeks ahead," Helen Comparator wrote, adding that she had told the former president that her husband left this world a hero and God welcomed him in. Meter said they had declined an invitation to speak with President Biden. You are right. Okay. Good call, Eli. The right-wing New York Times. When did the New York Times become right-wing? And again, Donald Trump did call. According to the New York Times, published 22 minutes ago, Trump has called. Well, he was at a Trump rally. What do you think his X account is going to be full of? Puppies and unicorns? No, it's going to be all swastikas and, bullshit. Right now, there, damn, it's 174 says they are totally left-wing. This country can't even agree on what's right and left. The New York Times is far from right, boy. Murdoch owns the Times? When did Rupert Murdoch buy the New York Times? Hey, Papa Don. This guy is great, this Papa Don. If you don't follow him, give him a follow. He's fucking funny as shit. Rupert Murdoch does not own the New York Times. Arthur Sulzberger still owns the New York Times. CNN is moving right. Thank you, user telephone number. PT agrees that Papa Don is hilarious. I don't know exactly what exactly Peter means, but there you go. Murdoch does not own the... Who is this? Shut this person up. Would somebody please? I don't need these distractions. We have enough actual things to deal with. It's 52 minutes past the hour, so we got 8 minutes. Any final thoughts? Again, I want to thank the moderator team. They are the best on the Tickety Talk. Cheyenne, Vanetta, PT, John Williams, Jay and Travis. Thanks to Nightshade, who runs the Peter's Peeps group over on the Book of Faces. Thanks to Lars, who has the Discord server, and again to Vanetta, who's got the Google Doc share where you can get our letter on a no-fly zone west of the Dnipro. I don't know. If you're paying attention, most times are scary, I think. Cool. If you're paying attention. Well, thanks, Eli. Ukraine wishes you a peaceful day. Thanks, Chef Deb. Bobby, you can't censor unless you're the government. Only the government can censor. When a news program, a private corporate entity, writes the copy for its anchors, it is not censoring them, it is crafting their product. Those are two very different things and should not be conflated. Good night, Cool. Good night, Mel. So, as always, guys, we just have 6 minutes left. As always, I appreciate everybody tuning in. It is really a privilege and pleasure to be able to talk to you all every night. And I hope that it's helpful. There is the Patreon, PT has pinned up there. The Patreon info is in the bio. Please join if you can. That would be great. I can't do this without the Patreon folks. Oh God, this heat is just unbearable. I was looking at the weather. Next week at this time, it's going to be 20 degrees cooler Fahrenheit. Do you think Ukraine will join NATO? Ukraine joining NATO is an irreversible decision. Now, when it's going to happen is anybody's guess, but will it happen? Yes. I'm just... Oh, interesting, Nightshade. Good night, spicy weather. Mad storm in Lviv day before yesterday. Yeah, it came through here today. Lots of thunder, lightning. Thanks, Colin. Good night. Lots of thunder, lightning, some heavy downpours. It did not cool things off. What it did was make things more humid and sticky. Thanks, Dive Hard. It is broiling here. It is 95. It was 95 degrees Fahrenheit today. That's 35 Celsius. With humidity hovering around 80%. Oh, and Vance thinks women should stay in domestic violence relationships. Of course he does. Yeah, I'll need a blanket. I'm well insulated, hobo. I'm not going to need a blanket anytime soon. Ooh, hey, I just made all the words much bigger. Oh, look, Bobby mentions that the weather in San Diego is perfect once again. Imagine my surprise, Bobby. It's fucking San Diego. It's always perfect. There's a bad heat wave in the U.S. too, isn't there? There sure is, PT. And this is like one of the hottest weeks on record. 97 in Oregon, Jeff? Holy shit. Are you in the interior or are you left of the mountains? Oh yeah, Flippy, hit me up, boy. Good night, Chef Deb. Yes, yes, yes. Norway's hot. 95 in Boston, Mass. Oh my God, there's nothing worse than taking the T on a day like this. Getting stuck in a car with no air conditioning. Oh, 108 here today, tomorrow 110. Where are you, Just Kimber? Is that Arizona or Vegas or storms in the Netherlands? 117 in Vegas last week, 102 in El Paso. Guys, we got to get used to this. This is the new normal, right? We are boiling the planet. We are boiling the planet. And look who's behind it. The Putins of the world, the Mohammed bin Salmans, the OPEC cartels. That's who's behind it. Look at these temperatures. Holy shit. Arizona or Hades. Whew. All right, kids. It's just about 1 a.m. here. So I'm going to call it a night. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Stay cool, everybody. Remember the cooling power of water. Get yourself into a nice cold bath. 20 minutes in a cold bath will bring your body temperature down. But it takes 20 minutes. Heat index. Brian, where are you in PA? Remind me again. 110 in PA. Yowza. Heat index, not actual temperature. Good night, Just Kimber. Good night, Nivison. Thanks, Ron. All right, kids. Make it a great day. Oh, shoot. With the big letters up, I don't have the close button. How do I get rid of the big letters? There we go. Nope, that didn't do it. I wonder how I get rid of these big letters. No. Huh. Boy, that is annoying. Aha. Slide, swipe left. All right, kids, good night.